Kapil Dev, MS Dhoni, and now Rohit Sharma. We can also say Lords, Wanderers, Wankhede, and now Kensington Oval. Or we could then turn out to the semi-final defeat in 2022, runners-up in 2023, runners-up in the 50-over World Cup in 2023, and finally, champions in June 2024. Welcome to Express Sports Podcast. You're listening to Game Time with Amit Kamath, Vinayakk Mohanarangan, and me, Mihir Vasavda. And today, we just have 1 point agenda. India are the world champions. Amit, you were out on the streets in Bombay. You got a first-hand feel. I could hear some firecrackers going on, and the only thought I had in my mind is, यार जून में लोग बारिश की सीजन में firecrackers का क्या कर रहे हैं घर पे? But at least they got it some good use. Before we go to the match, how was it out there in the streets of Bombay?
Mir, I have to tell you that in 2011, right, I was working in my first job as a journalist, and I remember very clearly that because India had won the World Cup, we had missed the last train back home. So because our office was in Churchgate, we decided to go and sit at Marine Drive just to soak up the sights. And till 4 a.m. we were there, and till 4 a.m. back then there were very limited cars which had like sunroofs and whatever. But the amount of people that we saw perched on the rooftops of those cars at Marine Drive, that is one sight that we will never forget. And then what made that sight even better was the fact that at some point the Team India bus left from the Wankhede Stadium and was caught up in the traffic, and they were basically given a guard of honor back to their hotel. So that was one memory that I had in mind. So today I thought कि if गलती से अगर India जीत जाता है, putting behind all of this jinx of being in the summit clash and then not making it through, तो काफी अच्छा सीन रहेगा. But our podcast producer Shashank Bhargava has basically ordered me back home because clearly the Indian cricket team winning a T20 World Cup does not match the intensity and drama of the World Cup of darts.
Yeah.
Where apparently Shashank informs us that Chinese Taipei has defeated Ireland. What a stunning upset apparently.
Stunning upset. And to just give some context, Shashank was kind of briefing us on the Darts World Championship just before we started our recording. Darting over to Chennai where Vinayakk Mohanarangan was there. Vinayakk, we were frantically on WhatsApp throughout the match, and there was a point where I think both of us gave up. And just to give some background to how, we at that newspaper offices kind of prepare for all scenarios. So we had like one page designed in case India loses and one page designed in case India wins. And we had to kind of, get rid of the page, whatever the result, the other page would be out. And Vinayakk and I were constantly on touch over there. And then something magical happened. Chalo, we'll say ki Hardik Pandya and all, but man, that Bumrah over, Vinayakk.
Yeah, those two Bumrah overs actually. I think the moment where we discussed, okay, let's start preparing the South Africa wins page was when Axar Patel's over went for, I think, 24 runs. When Klaasen just smashed the hell out of the leather, 2 sixes, 199 meter 6, 103 meter 6. And
the ball landed near Amit in Marine Drive.
Yeah, exactly. That is precisely the point when we decided, okay, so let's now put some serious thought into the South Africa page. And so at that point, South Africa needed 30 runs of 30 balls and enter Jasprit Bumrah. At that point, didn't feel significant, the over immediately after Axar's. But, in hindsight, that was as crucial as the next over he delivered. Just 4 runs. South Africa thought, okay, 30 of 30. Now, there is no need to take any risks against Bumrah, which is a very, very sound cricketing logical call. But then the next over, first ball was the turning point. I think the most important delivery of the match was Hardik dismissing Henrik Klaasen. And then Bumrah came the next over, to concede 2 runs and to nearly get David Miller and that ball to Marco Jansen. Goodness, what a tournament he had. What a bowler. It's just like we had discussed in the first wicket that he took. In this age of fan wars for every cricketer you could imagine, here's a guy who's just a joy to watch. If you love cricket, you love Jasprit Bumrah. There is no hatred. I know he faced some amount of trolling as well when he was missing cricket due to his injuries and all. That is just, we don't read into that. But when he's performing, when he's playing cricket, you just fall in love with the sport all over again. I think that's the biggest compliment that we can give to Jasprit Bumrah.
Yeah, as Rohit Sharma said in the post-match presentations, I have only 2 words for Jasprit Bumrah, and then I have only 1 word for Jasprit Bumrah, I said, and then proceeded to say 2. which is class act. But then whatever Rohit did today is all forgiven. I mean, we'll put our hands up and, say that when this team was announced, we kind of, in a way, dissed it. We didn't give them many chances to win a World Cup. And that episode, I still remember, Amit, we did mention that हमने इतनी गाली दी ये टीम को कि ये 100% जीत जाएंगे. और I think that prophecy turned out to be right. But at the same time, it's just crazy how everything has fallen into place for this team, which, I mean, let's be honest, this isn't one of the greatest teams that India has had in a long time. It isn't a great team, but they were great on a given day. And that, I think, worked pretty well.
And I think nothing encapsulates that than Virat. I mean, he's had 75 odd runs in coming into the final. Everybody was, questioning whether he will actually, whether he even deserves to be in the side. But then he is somebody who's been thrown at the deep end. He's been told that, you go and open, you go hell for leather right at the top. And clearly he'd come into the World Cup from a great IPL, and then suddenly he found form deserting him. And for him to go into the final, score 76 runs when the team needed him most, I think we were 34 for 3 at one stage.
Yeah.
So that is, I think, one of those moments that tells you that, this is maybe meant to be.
And Vinayk, it's crazy, right? Because, again, one of the points that we mentioned and we discussed during the match is that coming into this World Cup, the entire narrative around Virat Kohli was that, he's so out of fashion, out of date for T20 cricket. He plays it like it's an ODI. His strike rate is so bad. When we have explosive players everywhere in the IPL, why do we need Virat Kohli? And then suddenly, I think you'll disagree with me over here, I have a hunch. But when the moment came in the final, it was Virat Kohli's ODI-like innings that actually set up India for a very competitive total. And eventually, I think his innings was the big difference between India winning and losing. And rightly, he was the man of the match.
Certain aspects I would disagree with. I don't think rightly he was the man of the match.
I knew.
I think the man of the match should have been one of the bowlers. I mean, there's no reason that a man who scored 50 has to get the man of the match. 2 wickets are good enough. I would have loved
you take away his 50 and the bowlers have nothing to bowl here.
No, I think it was a par total, honestly. A batter should get a man of the match if he single-handedly made a par total above par. That's roughly speaking what not taking anything away from Virat. I think it was a good innings. I think the perfect way to describe Virat's innings came from Jared Kimber on Twitter. He called it the Schrodinger innings. At halfway point, it was both match winning and match losing, which we would have known only after the result of the match. So simultaneously match winning or match losing based on. So, it was, I think Nasir Hussain also said the same thing at the halfway interval. It's a sort of innings where you wait till the end of the match to see where you would place it. It was definitely a great start. It was definitely a great finish, but I don't think it was a 48 ball 50 sort of a situation. I'll
also put it the other way, and one of the things that was also said is that the top order collapses, Kohli scores at a steady rate, and then even then if India would lose, Kohli would be blamed. So you're damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't.
It is a very tricky thing, honestly, Mihir, and I think he genuinely rescued that innings towards the end, right? I think that's the way to put it. 6 and a 4 and a couple of other good shots against Rabada in that over. That kind of made this innings something that you would definitely want to criticize, to hold your judgment back on. Obviously, in the end, India won. And honestly, South Africa should have still won this match. 30 of 30 balls, they should have won this match. India won because of a crazy 5-over period in the end. So I would not go as far as saying, Kohli's innings was the difference. I think the bowlers were the difference. Kohli got them to a competitive total, which I think he did his part. Anchoring was good. He just overdid it by a couple of overs. I think he had to go early. He had to either go early and get out or try and make a couple of boundaries, because Hardik faced, I think, 2 or 3 deliveries, right? He didn't have to wait till the last 2 overs. So it's a minor thing. Obviously, in hindsight, he did play a defining match, but it could have easily come back to haunt India.
I think the pitch also eased out, right?
Right.
During the innings break, the South African player, I forget who it was, Keshav Maharaj?
Yeah, Keshav Maharaj said the pitch had eased out, and Kohli was struggling for timing around the 13th, 14th, 15th over mark, which is not like Kohli. Usually when he spends those 40, 50 balls at around 100 strike rate, maybe around the 14th, 15th over, he usually does tee off. He teed off a couple of overs late, which could have come back to haunt India. It didn't. So, all credit to Kohli. But genuinely, to come up with this innings on the day of the final after the sort of tournament he's had, and that is great credit to him. That's great credit to his fighting abilities. And, it's just the mentality that makes the cricketer that he is. And now that he's announced his retirement free T20s as well, it's a good way to sign off.
Yeah, exactly. How many players can actually claim that their last innings...
No more debates. No more strike rate debates.
How many players can actually claim that their last innings was a match-winning innings and a World Cup winning innings, forget a match-winning innings?
Exactly.
Absolutely. And Amit, yeah, we are also staring at another big exit, and that's of Rohit Sharma. It's amazing how he's emerged as this... I don't even know what's the best word to describe him as a captain, but I strongly suggest, that our listeners read the Sriram Veera profile of Rohit Sharma, where he's described him as a chilled out big brother, sharp-witted straight talker, a smart strategist, caring mentor. And finally, after whatever, like Vinayakk mentioned, the fan wars that take place on the social media, I think across Kohli fans koi bhi ho, they are slowly warming up to his personality. And I think his personality has finally rubbed off on the rest of the team, and what an impact he's had as a captain. I mean, I know that very easily we would have said that if India had lost, that his laid-backness, his casual attitude might not be the best suit for India, but it's won India the World Cup.
Yeah, and Mihir, I don't know how Mumbai Indians management is feeling today. Because thoda sa abhi unko bhi dhak-dhak to ho rehla hoga na, I'm assuming. I don't know.
Worth checking their social media actually right now. Have they congratulated Captain Rohit, or how are they phrased it? Let's just check Mumbai Indians. And in the meantime, you can continue, Amit.
They posted Kamath the R, Kamath the man or something like that for Hardik.
अरे ये तो हमारे इसमें last time the phrase that we had used to Nandan Kamath के book से वहाँ से
Kamath the R, Kamath the man. Kamath has now stoked a fire right now.
Yeah, but Mihir, I think Rohit obviously, what a tournament he's had, not just as a captain, but also, with the bat. I think aaj thoda sa maybe he didn't work, but then a great tournament overall.
What a tournament. And I don't think there'll be more satisfying photos if you are an Indian cricket fan than to see Rohit and Virat Kohli standing arm in arm with each other with a tricolour and a trophy. That just is very satisfying, I think, for many of us, especially if I'll say satisfying for me, because I never got this whole Virat versus Rohit rivalry. Over the years, I've sided with Virat's style of captaincy. I mean, Rohit is great, but Virat got in more aggression and I really liked it. But eventually this worked, Vinayakk. And I mean, there are so many honorable mentions in this win, right? I mean, Suryakumar Yadav, he kind of redeemed himself, I think, with that splendid catch. Hardik Pandya, he also had a very nice thing to say after the match was over. The list is countless. Rishabh Pant, what a story. This is an incredible storyline, a team full of great storylines.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Axar Patel as well.
Axar Patel. No, I was literally going to point out Axar Patel.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that his tournament might have ended with a match losing over potentially. Would have been harsh for the kind of tournament that he had. He played a brilliant innings today. I think it probably swung the momentum in favour of India when things were quite dire after the 3 wickets that were lost. That was a superb innings that he played. Those 3 sixes that he hit against spin and the straights that he hit against Rabada. How many people can say they've hit a straight 6 against Rabada in a World Cup match, right? Probably top order batters. He just showed his class as an all-rounder during this tournament. Was superb in the semi-final against England. Was absolutely the right choice for player of the match, I thought. And yeah, like you said, Rishabh had a great start to the tournament, kind of faded towards the end. Shivam Dubey, I think, deserves an honourable mention too. He came in for a lot of criticism.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of criticism for the way he had played in the tournament. He hadn't quite justified his place. Today came in and played a very handy cameo in the end.
Sorry to interrupt there, but his knock reminded me of Rohit Sharma's innings in the 2007 T20 World Cup final.
2007, yeah, that's a very nice analogy.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see a lot of Shivam Dubey in the coming days and years. Just, the way this team...
Mir, just one thing before you move on. I think, Vinayakk, you mentioned how Axar, his tournament could have ended with that spell. But then, imagine his tournament didn't start at all. He was literally, as our colleague Sriram Veera has written in his piece right now, that his tournament didn't almost start because he was the last person to make it to the 15-member squad.
Yeah.
Washington Sundar and he were in a very close race.
Yeah, even Ashwin was in consideration. So he also spoke about it in the end, and he's had a few close misses where he's been named in the squad and then he's been pulled out of squads due to niggles. He's come close to being in a World Cup and then completely missing out. And it's been that sort of a narrative in his career so far, and then to feature in a World Cup and then to come up with these sort of performances that, played a very significant part in India's campaign. I mean, we shouldn't forget the sort of steadying innings he played against Pakistan when he was promoted to number 4. Sort of this all-weather player for India, right? When they were in trouble, they promoted him up the order. When, the pitch had a little bit of spin, he came and bowled in the power play, he bowled in the middle overs. Kind of wherever India wanted him, he sort of stood up and made it count. And yeah, like Mihir said perfectly, right? There are a lot of match winners in the squad, and also, like he said, like not many of us gave them the chance. But I think they played very smartly throughout the tournament. They adapted to conditions superbly. And all said and done, they've lost one match out of the last 2 World Cups that they've played in. Not the exact same squad, but like the majority of the squad. So, one match on November 19th is the only match they've lost over the last, 8-9 months or so, right?
19 out of 20.
Yeah, 19 out of 20. Or did they play 10 matches in this World Cup? Or, yeah, whatever the count is. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever the count is. Who cares about numbers tonight? But Vinayakk, you give a good segue into moving to our next topic, actually. And that is exactly how India kind of played smart cricket. I mean, we criticized this team of not adapting to the modern ways of T20 cricket. And that's exactly what they did, right? There was no as a star syndrome kind of a thing where a player would shield until Virat did in the final, which was also needed. But, you had Rohit Sharma going from ball 1. You had Pant. Virat himself was trying to kind of do things at top of the order. So like every player was trying to batsman was trying to adapt to the modern way of T20 cricket. Rohit's vindication, right, with picking spinners. All of us questioned his logic of going with 3-4 spinners to Caribbean, to the US. We didn't know how the pitches were. He said he had a plan. It worked out perfectly for him. I mean, whatever was said about this team going into the World Cup, they proved many of us wrong.
Absolutely, yeah. Also, while we are talking about sort of being proven wrong, I think one thing that I was proven right by is like Stars broadcast. I really want to mention this, just something that, I mean, I know we are talking about really feel-good things and all that, but we are recording this at 1:45 right now AM, and just like 45 minutes back in the post-match show, when everything is going good and you're feeling good and, things are nice and, you're enjoying the vibes, then Star decide in their post-match show to force Dale Steyn to do dance moves. Can you imagine that? The man has just tweeted like probably 10-15 minutes back saying, he's heartbroken, to see his team lose. I mean, and he's gracious enough to come on your show, do a post-match chat. They're asking Rayudu to dance. They're asking Ishant to dance. After that, they're forcing Dale Steyn to do Bhangra move. Can you imagine that? I mean, why? Like, you can't. It's just... Every time you think Indian sports broadcasting has hit a new low, they just plumb lower. So sorry, I just wanted to insert that. When speaking of unpredictable things, this was the most predictable thing that I saw.
I mean, one person we would all like to see dance is Rahul Dravid Amit. यार कितने साल से ये बंदा कुछ बड़ा जीतने की कोशिश कर रहा है in white ball cricket. 2007 में it started with the heartbreak at the very venue in the West Indies at Barbados, where his dreams crashed as a captain of the 50-over side. As a coach, he's tried like so many times to win a World Cup. He was written off as a coach, written off as a captain, if I dare say. And this is a very, very sweet moment of redemption for him. And the way he celebrated, that along with the Rohit and Kohli photo is pure joy.
Mihir, I think, that obviously was something that was slightly uncharacteristic of Dravid. We don't see him, except when he comes for ads reprising the role of Indira Nagar ka Gunda or whatever that is. But otherwise, we don't see him being that emotional, right? So the funny thing is, because Vinayakk has just spoken about Star, I think Star guys asked him before the final that, there is a campaign going on in India about how the team should win it for Dravid. So what do you think about that? And Dravid, I don't think those guys were expecting it, but Dravid went on this rant about how he's totally against these sorts of campaigns. He's completely against his values. He doesn't believe in, doing it for somebody. Then he goes on to elaborate saying that, I love this quote where somebody is asking somebody else, why do you want to climb Mount Everest? And the other person says, because it's right there. So why do you want to win the Cricket World Cup? Because it's there to be won. It's not for me that I want these guys to win it. We want to win it because we want to win it. It's there. And these guys are cricketers. So, that was one of those moments that tell you that even though, this World Cup obviously means a lot to him, his last dance in a sense with the Indian cricket team, but still, Rahul Dravid giving a little bit of a measured response, a little bit of a very characteristic response before he kind of got swept away with emotions, I guess.
Yeah, true.
I just want to add one thing to what Amit said. So the way Jatin Sapru in that little clip posted that question to Dravid was, there is a nation's cry. There is a lot of people in the country who were running this campaign called Do It for Dravid. The only people I saw running that campaign was Star, which Dravid very subtly at the end said, please take down the campaign.
Yeah, the funny part is Dravid ends that interview by saying, if you can get that campaign removed, I'll appreciate it.
It's a bit like the nation wants to know when only one person wants to know that thing. So it's a bit like that.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have seen the Hindi version of Nayak.
Yeah. I'm very interested to see where this is going now. Yeah.
Because I remember the Tamil version where, towards the end when main character were like the villain Amrish Puri in the Hindi version and Raghuvaran in the Tamil version, whatever, the chief minister character and this guy is going head to head and, one of the sequences is the bombs getting diffused right on time and the chief minister character says, this guy knows where the bombs are because he kept the bombs and then he goes and diffuses it and acts like he's a great chief minister. Felt that was what I was thinking. Star runs its own campaign, they make everything happen, and then they go ask Dravid, hey, what do you think about this campaign? And it was a brilliant response from Dravid. Like, I know about the campaign, please take it down. That was like, we've seen Star take a few blows.
We steer back to our Nayak's Vinayakk.
I'm sorry, yeah, it's just... No, but I mean, it's a good thing that Amit brought it up because I think that also kind of tells you the kind of character that Dravid has been always. Doesn't really enjoy the spotlight and been sort of...
Absolutely, yeah.
The two World Cups that we've won in recent times, right? I mean, 2011 and 2024. When you come to think of it, it's Gary Kirsten and Rahul Dravid as the coaches. The two people who kind of like...
Very similar in nature.
Yeah. Like, don't like the limelight, sitting back, doing what they do and letting the players, if you've made it to the Indian squad, you're good enough. So you trust your abilities. There's not much to do in terms of technique. So, that sort of character. So it's kind of fitting that, he does walk away with the trophy. I think he deserves it for all that he's done.
And this truly is an end of an era, right? And on an extreme high, like you'll see Dravid walking away. Virat Kohli has already announced that this is the last time he's played T20 for India. For all you know, Rohit Sharma might be doing it too. Who knows who others will follow them in their wake. But we'll have most probably Gautam Gambhir taking over as the coach from Rahul Dravid. Batting, of course, we have a long list, but this feels like a big generational shift waiting to happen. I mean, of course, you have players like Arshdeep and Rishabh and Shivam Dube, like we mentioned, who are ready to kind of take over and take the team forward. But what a moment this will be to enter that transition zone, Amit.
Yeah, absolutely. But Mihir, I'm not sure whether Rohit steps down. He's not said it. This would have been a great day to say.
He's not said it, but like I'll be surprised if he still continues as the T20 player / captain.
क्या पता यार, मतलब कैप्टेंसी मिल रहा है उसको यहाँ करने के लिए, मुंबई इंडियंस से दे नहीं रहा.
Point है भाई.
मतलब how else do you prove somebody wrong?
Yeah, I mean by winning the World Cup. Oh, he already did.
But I mean, I don't know, man. Like victory does strange things to you, It reiterates कि तुम कुछ भी problem नहीं है, सब चंगा से. So, who knows?
Vinayakk, how do you look at the next phase for Indian cricket?
This tournament was going to be like a stopping point in quite a few ways, irrespective of what happened today. I don't think, this was the end of a cycle, so to speak. I think, so yeah, it's very clear that Kohli is probably going to focus on, ODIs and the Test Championship for the next cycle, just play the IPL for T20s, which I think, like he said, it was an open secret, right? I mean, that's the word he used. Irrespective of what happened today, I think it was the end. I kind of agree with Amit. Rohit is not that straightforward, but I also think he's not going to play T20Is anymore. There's no real reason for him to play this format because he also has that ODI World Cup, which I'm sure it's still, 29 June is great, but 19 November would still be hurting. And if there is a way that he can make it to the next World Cup, I think Rohit would also focus on that. So it's an interesting phase coming up for sure. We still don't know if Gautam Gambhir is going to be finalized, but if that is the direction that India are going, does Gautam want a new sort of young leader with ODI World Cup in mind? That might force Rohit's hand and who knows, right? There's so much up in the air right now. So, yeah, I think getting into a very interesting phase with Shubman Gill actually next captain in the non-main players featuring in that next series of Zimbabwe, I think. Shubman Gill is the leader. So, he wasn't in the World Cup. Now he's the captain in the next tournament that India are playing. So what does that tell about the direction that we are heading in? So there are a few questions. Hardik Pandya might love to have India captaincy too. For all that Amit mentioned, will Rohit want to play under Hardik's captaincy in India and Mumbai Indians? But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions. But I think we're in an interesting phase. I think it's nice that, this phase ends with a trophy because for all the...
I mean, they deserve it, yeah. They deserve it. Whatever we say...
Not trolling, right? That is what, right? I mean, trolling and question marks and, tournaments being, India-centric and all that. Like, purely the cricket that they played in the ICC World Test Championship last cycle, ICC ODI World Cup, ICC T20 World Cup.
Absolutely.
By far the most consistent team across the last 3 ICC events. It would have been a shame if they finished it without a trophy. So in that sense, I think whatever holds in the future, it's...
And it would have been a shame also because this World Cup was actually designed for them to win. Let us be bitches and say that it would have been a shame if they couldn't have won this World Cup too.
I mean, to be honest, the ODI World Cup was more designed for India to win. So more than this one, because this still had like a lot of logistical elements that they had to deal with, more than, what they had to in India. So True. I think, so all said and done, I think November 19th will still hurt because, ODI World Cup is still the pinnacle for these guys. So a few of these guys might still want to stick around for that. So I think, that's probably the next big thing that they'll work towards.
Right. And I think that for the T20 World Cup, we now move on to the main discussion for tonight. And for that, Shashank Bhargava joins us to fill in us with the Darts World Championship. Shashank, the floor is yours.
What do I say? जब 30 मिनट ऑलरेडी निकल गए
Such is life. It isn't always
उसके
fair.
बाद we are taking time out to talk about the sport that we should be talking about. I mean ये जब actually में दिल से World Cup of Darts के बारे में बात करनी होगी ना तब मुझे बुलाना. ये टोकनिज्म ना मुझे नहीं चाहिए.
जैसे इंडिया का सेमीफाइनल पहले ही डिसाइड हो गया था कहाँ होगा, वैसे ये डिसाइड हो गया था कि ये पॉडकास्ट में क्रिकेट कितना डिस्कस होगा.
Since Shashank has turned down his mandatory airtime in the end, I just want to add one thing. So on a day where we've been looking at all the weather forecasts and all that for a cricket match, it is kind of amazing that the weather stopped football and not the cricket.
Yeah.
As we were speaking, bad weather affected and the play was suspended in Euros. Who would have thought that on a day when a cricket match and football match were both happening, it would be the football match that got affected by rain and not cricket, right?
Yeah.
One of those amazing things.
Wow. In the 1 minute that we were supposed to dedicate to this sport, उसमें भी football there.
एंड बाकी का जो 30 सेकंड्स अभी बचा है शशांक भार्गव, उसमें मैं अभी सिर्फ यही अनाउंसमेंट डाल दूंगा बिकॉज यू हैव बीन वेस्टिंग योर टाइम दैट द फ्लोर दैट द हाउस हैड गिवन यू. क्रिकेट सीजन खत्म हो गया है अभी. ये T20 वर्ल्ड कप, ग्रेट दैट इट एंडेड ऑन अ हाई. अब ठीक है, हम 3 जन अभी बहुत क्रिकेट हमारे लाइफ टाइम के लिए हमने डिस्कस कर लिया है. नेक्स्ट वीक I think Amit, Vinayakk, Shashank is when we begin our Olympics countdown. From one big event, we move to the next. And it's what? By the time we listen to this, we'll be less than 30 days. We'll be around 27, 26 days away from the opening ceremony of the Paris Olympics. Next week and onwards, we bring on the previews to the Olympics. So do hang around for that. Do come back for that. I don't think anything else has been left. Vinayakk, Amit, Shashank, anyone else? Final call? Varna.
Yeah, Shashank, since you are such a darts aficionado, I was just wondering, has the Darts World Cup or the World Championship ever been affected by bad weather?
Maybe players coming in late. That's the only thing I can think of.
Like too much of a chilly air conditioning or something like that? Low lighting.
Actually, when you think of it, the air conditioning ka badminton jaisa na, the force drift and everything could impact.
Drift.
Maybe वो बार में brawl शुरू हो जाएगी तो maybe that affects the game.
Yeah, I don't think we should torture our listeners. जो 3 listeners है, 3 माने मतलब अमित, मैं और विनायक, वो 3 listeners भी.
Amit has had his share of weather forecasts for a while now, I would imagine. Amit and the rest of the online team for sure. All the cyclone watch and hurricane watch.
But no, I think this is a good cue for us to call it a night, gents. I think just the adrenaline rush is so much that we can, I think, keep on talking for the rest of the night. But less than a minute left, Shashank says in our Zoom chat. So I think we will call it a night. Thank you everyone for listening. Please do come back next week and enjoy this week, because at least for now, you'll be able to get that feeling of being a world champion. Thanks for listening.
You were listening to Express Sports by the Indian Express. This week's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by me, Shashank Bhargava. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.